tonight we have a, well, she's not quite local, but she's local in terms of 8 towns, 1 community, because we have an Otisfield resident with us who is well known in the Oxford Hills, Lee Dassler. Fortunate is the organization that has Lee's leadership. She has amazing passion and skill, creativity for what she does. And I thought, or I've been thinking for a number of days about how this woman, this woman, so unbelievably grasped what is good, intuitively grasped what is good. And my first experience with her was at McLaughlin Garden, where I was pushed into being a founding member with her leadership, and the rest is history. And at one point, Lee told me as I was second-guessing everything I did, and it was a very tumultuous time. And she said, just continue doing what you know is good, and everything comes from that. And I've seen her philosophically lead her life that way. And I'm also incredulous that she begins with land, as she did with the garden, and has done with Roberts Preserve. And then her curiosity leads her to find out about the land's people. And then she keeps going. And as she did with Bernie McLaughlin, the McLaughlin family became hers. I see that the Roberts family is becoming hers. And it's curiosity, it's lifelong learning, it's everything that we all want to be excited, so excited about humanity. And so I think without further ado, my role model is younger than I am. I know she's got about 50 minutes, so I'm going. And I think you'll find this a very inspiring talk, because it really does celebrate a person whom none of us, I don't think it, did you know him, Charles?
No.
No. I don't think people here knew or know the treasures we have. So we thank you. You're welcome.
I want to thank Nancy Coleman for being willing to press the next button on the computer, so that's really handy. I think the legacy of John Alfred Roberts is as I was describing to one of our new Norway residents, a little humbling. We all work so hard to be remembered by our family and by our community, and many maybe we will be, maybe we won't. Well, this gentleman, as it turns out, held nearly every public office that one could have in your local community and in the state community, and he was almost forgotten. So I hope that the work that's presented here tonight and future work that continues on Roberts Farm Preserve will incorporate John Roberts into the heart and memories of his community on an ongoing basis. So here he is, John Alfred Roberts, 1852 to 1920. Makes sense. And I have to say at the beginning, we have almost no primary evidence of John Roberts. We don't have any journals or any informal portraits or photographs, so everything's just leaned from census data, written reports, documents. So I tried to soften the edges, but you'll get just a lot of facts put together and strung together. John was John was born in 1852 in Gardner, Maine in September. And sometime between September and December that year, his parents, who were very young, 24 and 25, moved from Gardner to Andover. I didn't try to figure out why, they just did. And then we can see on a map, on the 1858 map, there's the John Roberts farm. So it's it was north of that Maine crossing in Andover, Maine. And I would love to continue on and do some research on that farm. I haven't. But that's where he was raised, and that's where he is not buried. His parents are buried in Andover. 2 of his brothers are buried in Andover, an infant sister. But John is buried in South Paris at Pine Grove Cemetery. And it's because of the way his life goes. He does bigger things than his parents did in Andover. So next, please. John worked at the farm in Andover for about 20 years, helping his father and mother, presumably. And then it was chosen for him, and I suspect maybe because of his health. It seems throughout his life he was always weak, that there's always writings about, oops, he had to change this to go on and do that because he wasn't strong enough, he wasn't healthy enough. So I suspect that maybe farming was maybe too rigorous for him, or that it was understood that he had a very good brain and capacity for learning. But he was sent to the Oxford Normal Institute that we've almost forgotten. When I asked Charles about the Oxford Normal Institute, he didn't remember where it was. I had never heard of it. It's where the Mildred Fox School now stands. It's where this building was in South Paris, and was quite the institute for learning. Normal schools were established to teach the norms of education, to train teachers. So he was there, and as it's said in many of the records, he was fitted for Bowdoin College at the Oxford Normal Institute. So at that point, Bowdoin College would have been the college in Maine. So isn't that amazing? That's where our Mildred Fox School is. So next, please. So in 1874, he goes to Bowdoin College and graduates in the class of 1877. And I have to say, when we started, it was really the Bowdoin Archives that gave us the largest chunk of information. I'm so thankful to what they have there and their willingness to share their archives with the public. They seem to keep very good track of their graduates. It's probably because they went alumni donations and graduated. But here he is, very handsome young man. Next. I have just some photos of the Bowdoin campus at that time. These are Bowdoin campus pictures, 1880s or so, a little bit different than it looks today. Much more bucolic, before the era of lawnmowers and curbing, but really, really lovely. And you can imagine these students who are going to become the leaders of their generations walking on that quad and studying in those buildings. Next, please. Isn't that a great fence? I love that pasture fence that's almost surrounding, embracing the buildings. And it's like a baseball bat in the foreground. Next one. The year that John Roberts, this has nothing to do with it, but I'm fascinated by stuff like this. The year that John Roberts was born was also the year that Joshua Chamberlain graduated from Bowdoin. Joshua had been held back a year. He should have graduated in 51. He graduated in 52. Because of being held back, just as just happened to be that Harriet Beecher Stowe was giving readings of her to-be-published book. And Joshua Chamberlain was able to sit in those readings in Brunswick, and apparently he attended most of them. And it just is interesting to me that it's going to fit into the brain of someone who's going to play a pivotal role in the Civil War for us. Joshua Chamberlain will also interact with John Alfred Roberts' life several times as we go through this. So next, please. So at the time that John Alfred Roberts graduates from Bowdoin, Joshua Chamberlain is president of Bowdoin, so he would have handed John Roberts his diploma. And the other interesting person, there are several in this Bowdoin class of 1877, but Admiral Robert Peary was in that class as well. So, and I'm afraid this is just the picture that was sent. I don't know which one. On this particular picture, I couldn't discern which one was John Roberts and which one was Admiral Peary. And the next one, I think I figured out. It was a little bit of guesswork. We also, as you all know, is that Robert Peary chose to have his snowshoes manufactured by Melly Dunham and crew in Norway, Maine. Melly Dunham was the leading snowshoe manufacturer in town. I have no idea if John Roberts played any factor in that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, he absolutely did. He absolutely did. Yeah, Robert Peary over for dinner introduced him to Melly Dunham. So, and I think, you think of college graduates having a photograph before they graduate now. A different look. It's a much different look we're presenting this time. Yeah, half of them will be looking at their iPods. Okay, Nancy, please. Now in this one, I'll do a little There's John Roberts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I was just looking at Robert Perry. I think that that's Perry, but again, I don't know. But the John Roberts was really relatively cool to me. Handsome group. All right, thanks. So after he graduates from Bowdoin, he works as a headmaster of the school, a high school in Brunswick, but not for long. And then he begins studying the law. He reads the law with, this gentleman's name is Ludden. Yep, M.T. Ludden in Lewiston. He gets his admission to the bar in 1878. It didn't take too long in those days. And then he works with a fellow Bowdoin grad, Mr. Green in Mechanic Falls, and then comes to Norway and works with C.E. Holt. In the census, again, here we have, I don't have any primary documentation, but I do know that via the census, John Roberts was living in 1880 in Norway at the farm of Solomon and Emily Millet. And I haven't done the map work to see if we can kind of recognize it. Next, please. But his life is going to change pretty quickly now. Things are going to happen very fast. This is about the time when it's going to interact with the historic farm in our area. This is the 1787 map. Survey of Norway, of Rustfield, and Henry Rust's properties. And this parcel, here's Penissalasi Lake on the map, and this parcel belongs to John and Dudley Pike of Pikes Hill. And it will get divided up between the two and become Dudley Pike's property. So next, Nancy. And the 1818 will of Dudley Pike, which is a great read, if you ever want to read it. I mean, really, these early wills are fantastic. He gives a portion of the northwest corner of his property to his son, Henry Pike, and assigns different properties to the other men, his sons, and then the girls all get money. And it's one of those wonderful wills that has, what are they called? He gives, I can't get them now, dowager rights. He gives his wife rights to something similar to a third of the barn, a third of the kitchen, and specific rooms in the house, including the creamery, and a third of another piece. Maybe it's a pasture to keep her cow on. But dowager rights were put specifically in wills by husbands to allow their wives to survive them, even if their kids abandon them. So Mrs. Pike would have been allowed to have a cow, make cheese, sell the cheese, make some money for herself. And she could stay in a room and walk across the floor and go to her kitchen. We're very fascinated to read it. Okay, next please. But this is how that land passed down to Henry. So Henry receives ownership of this land in 1818, but in the 1820 census, he doesn't show up as owning a separate parcel of land, which is Dudley Pike's in there. But by 1830, Henry Pike's name shows up. So we knew by 1830 he could build something. Next please. And this is what he had built. Now, and also the architectural histories of Oxford County, this shows up as 1823. In some of the social histories, it shows up as being completed in 1823, because it's in 1823 that Henry Pike marries Abigail Holly. So he was preparing his, I can't remember how it's put, you remember something like he was preparing his nest for bird. So I guess ostensibly he had to prepare a house and begin the beginnings of a farm before he could marry his wife. Next, please. And we will get back to John Roberts, but we have to build this farm first. So this is Henry Pike's farm. And Henry Pike's farm is going to be typical of its period because it's primarily a sustenance farm. It's just providing enough keep for the family that's there. It's not a big business. It's not pulling in a lot of money. Most farms at this point before the Civil War in Maine weren't. They provided a way of living for the family, not a large profit. That would change after the Civil War. But here is the ag census for 1850. I don't expect you to read it, but there's Henry Pike is on there, and there's all these columns. They're huge, long federal censuses, and they outline how many oxen and cows and how many bushels of beans and peas, and it just goes on and on. The federal government, hey, sorry, there's our new farmer. The federal government paid for 4 censuses, 1850, 60, 70, and 80, and then became very interested in industry and did no longer pay for federal agricultural censuses. All right, next one, Nancy, please. So here's, I just broke it down a little bit. You can see sort of the size of the farm at that time. And then we're going to get a little bit, so that, and the one, I guess the easiest one to compare with is to remember the dairy. So in a year, 120 pounds of butter and 150 pounds of cheese. And he's still producing quite a bit of pay. It's enough pay to feed his livestock. Right, next please. Now we've jumped at 30 years forward. And it's about the same amount of acreage, but we're getting more butter and cheese, but to still keep those in mind. So he's doing a little bit more. He's opened up and cultivated a little bit more land. But keep that, so we'll keep this one in our heads. 400 pounds of butter and cheese, because it's going to be a sharp contrast when John Roberts takes over this farm. So, we're at 1880. John Roberts is working with C.E. Holt as a lawyer in Norway, Maine. And somehow, and we know not how, he meets a very lovely young woman named Carrie Pike. And they're going to get married. So, Nancy. Oh, I just put this in. We have some old photographs. We don't know the dates of these. But this one was in the Weary Club. So this is from Pikesville, looking at the stretch of Pennsylvania. You can see it was all open and cultivated. So enter Johnny Roberts to this nice Henry Pike farm picture. And I just itemized some of the things that he accomplished in his lifetime. He was a very, very busy man. Going to lots of meetings. Lisa Moore, you think you have it bad, but she's got it bad. This guy was drawn to public service. Really, really drawn to public service. So we'll go and talk about some of these things. Next week. So at some point, somehow, John Roberts meets Carrie Pike. I was a student in Norway, Maine, and or Lewiston, as he read law in Lewiston. He kind of practiced in Mechanic Falls, so she was in one of those locales. But very beautiful woman. Married. So they married August 24th, 1881. This is fascinating to me. They married August 24th. September 2nd, her mother dies. A little more than a week later. And 1 week after that, Henry Pike sells the farm to Carrie for $500, for a consideration of $500. And but at that point, she's not, in the documentation of the deed, she's not Carrie Pike, she's Mrs. J.A. Roberts. And the interesting thing is that Mr. J.A. Roberts was the Justice of the Peace. He's signing the document. He's the one recognizing this deed. Then you start thinking, oh, maybe you'll see Mrs. J.A. Roberts as the taxpayer. Maybe you'll start seeing her somewhere, since the deed that's in the Registry of Deeds is to her. And that's not the case at all. In fact, Henry Pike continues to pay the taxes for the farm for a few more years. You don't even see John Roberts or Mrs. John A. Roberts in the tax records. But by 1884, now John A. Roberts is paying the taxes. The next time you'll see a deed shift, it's going to be from, it goes from Carrie to Thaddeus. You don't even see John A. Roberts on the deed work. He's just not on them. But it's going to be known as his farm. And all of the attributions to John Roberts and about the farm some of them say that Johnny Roberts bought the farm, wanted to retire, but bought a farm overlooking Peninsula. So it's one of those 19th century, really not paying attention to the woman in the picture. And I'm so thankful to two wonderful editors for this booklet that was done for the festival, Andy Burns and Lisa Moore. And Lisa Moore created some beautiful titles for some, what do you call them, Lisa? things, features. There's some features in here. And there's titles on them. And she was the one who recognized it's really Carrie. Carrie's working on sustaining the family ownership of the farm, but she doesn't get any credit for it during her lifetime. It all goes to John Roberts. Anyway, so they're all living on the farm, and in 1886, Henry Pipe dies. Yes, you caught it. Good for you. A lot of the writing sketch that good for you. Nice. Now, we'll see, we've seen one photo. I don't know that we're going to see another photo of the farmstead. I didn't really focus on that tonight. But at some moment, the farm, as it was originally built, the farmhouse was as it is now. 4 rooms, 2 stories, 1 room deep. At some point, a huge L is added to that house. And that point, we know is after 1841 because the L is all sawn off. But we don't know when. So I've been trying to find out from tax records when the taxes go up on that property to maybe indicate that there was a large, something large happening. There is, talk about it here, there is a mortgage taken out in 1874, and it's paid off in 1879 by Henry Pipe. It may have been a mortgage for him to add on an L because he's going to have, there's going to be a marriage, and there will be another family coming in to live in the house. But that's just, it's total supposition. All right, next. Keys, next. Just another historic photo of beautiful Lake Peninsula. So the farm is right over here, and you were, where was Mrs. Copeland? There you are. You were talking about, I think that's probably the woods. Right on here? Is this the one you were talking about, that farm? Or, yeah, it could be any of these, actually. But you thought you got some photos. Right. Yeah, right.
But look at how the first one, it would have been the first one, there's a left lake road going on the right hand side.
Yeah, so it's this one.
Yeah, because he owned all the way before Harrison.
Yeah. But it's amazing to look at how open this land was, how much of the land was in farming. Quite a change. It's amazing. 1/2 of the men went to the Civil War, and 3/4 of the land was in agriculture.
Yeah, is that statement like?
Yes, yes. Yeah. Next, please. Or we can stay on this, it's fascinating. I mean, just what one picture tells you about your community is always...
Are those all rocks? I mean, there's rock wall and there's a lot of white.
I think they're rocks. Yeah. I mean, there may be a sheep or 2 in there, but I have a feeling.
Well, to the left of the stone wall looks like farmland, to the right looks like pasture.
Pasture.
And that's what we...
Right,
soil.
soil.
Didn't want.
Right. Next, please. Norway, I just recently found this, and I haven't done enough at all with these resources. But Norway does retain some of its tax records, even before fire tax records. And they are wonderful. We are very lucky that they have them. Not only do they just say how much everyone was taxed, and the poll taxes are in there too, but just like the agricultural censuses the federal government paid for those 4 decades, 50, 60, 70, 80, Norway was taxing people on their livestock. Now, the tax records don't record anything grown in the earth, but things eating on the earth are recorded. And thus, I think these are really good documents, and probably someone should do a thesis on them, because it's great we've got them. All right, next please. So, one of the things that John Roberts was very involved with is the Grange. And here is the whole bloody Grange over at the house for a summer day. Look at the number of people that were in the Grange movement. Isn't it phenomenal, the whole town? It must have been a laughing stock if we weren't involved. Now the Grange movement, I don't know the dates, it's only about 1867. The Grange movement is started in Washington, D.C. 1867, and in 1873 the first Grange is opened in Maine, and that was in Hamden. And Granges were places to socialize, they were places to learn a lot about what's going on with my land, what's happening with yours. They were also communal buying entities. We would work together and buy things together. And it's not until, I believe it's something like 1917, that ranges are, some ranges are bought by small corporations, and we still have Paris Farmers Union here. There's a Farmington Farmers Union still has to remain. And those are sort of remnants of these buying unions that happened. So this is the only photograph that I know of that at Roberts Farm shows the barn. We don't have another one. We have aerial views that sort of make it out, but nothing that shows the facade of it. And as you see, the facade was at one point, probably from the beginning, light with dark trim around the windows. And I think, yeah, on this one it's there are two over two windows. These are later windows in the original. But isn't that amazing? All right, next one. Here's just some of the Grange involvement. He was involved locally and on Oxford Pomona level, on the sort of county level, larger one, and then he also was involved at the state level with the Grange. Very into it. Nice one. So the next thing, because that just wasn't enough. Oh, and also at the same time, he's involved with setting up, he was a selectman for Norway in 1888. And what Anne helped me with quite a while ago is he was on the first board of managers for the Norway Public Library. So, and that's where you found a signature, you did find a signature of his. Yeah, I was so excited to find that. So, and at the first librarian was first stood above Longley's, is that my memory?
Well, I'm not sure that was the first one.
No, that's not the first, no.
But 1892 is when it became this public library, and Roberts was one of the first managers.
Yeah. So, and that's not quite enough. So he's got to move on to Augusta. So he becomes, interesting. Right before I came, I had put the dates in here on the slide. It's not on the slide, so this may be an earlier version. So I'm going to have to read the dates. He becomes a representative 1893 to 1895, and then was a state senator 1897 to 1898. So this is. And of all the Senate stuff that remains that I could find relatively easily, the easiest to discern was his last day at the Senate in the Journal. They were talking about how wonderful it had been to work with everyone, and the president of the Senate had been such a good communicator and so hospitable. And at the very end of all this blah, 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 there's John Roberts invited his fellow senators to come to a place he doesn't specify, but this is, you could read this to any of us who live over in the Western Foothills, and we know it was about the home. I get off of them. I think it's really beautiful. So he had the poet in it. It's not unusual for a 19th century gentleman to have a bit of the poet in it, but still quite wonderful. All right, Nancy. I'm sorry, I really can't read that thing. I always start tearing up when I do. In 1903, the predecessor of the Lewiston Sun Journal, the Lewiston Journal, just did a long article on Highland Farm and John Roberts. So by that point, John Roberts had named his farm Highland Farm. And it just goes on and on and on about how wonderful this farm is. And there's some of I broke out some of the details, but one of the easy ones to recognize is what it's producing. 150 pounds of butter per week. And remember, that was Henry Pike's annual output of butter. So he's really changed things. When we started working on this, everyone said that he was farming scientifically, and that's also written down in some of the journal writings. It never made sense to me. But I think it was he was scientifically, he was looking at the science, and also very systematic, and with a financial filter, figuring out what was going to bring in the the most output, the most money, and going that direction. And using the land as wisely as he could. I'm going to read a little bit. It's actually, well, I'll go back to 1903. I'll read a little bit out of the 1903 piece. It's so much fun. It just makes him sound dauntless. When Roberts purchased the farm, he recalled that poor as was the soil of the farm, the owner was still poorer. That would have been Henry Pike. Although it was necessary to run in debt for the place, he was rich in intelligence and has the necessary energy and application to grapple with the problems of restoring the fertility of the soil and to make it once more blossom like a rose. Mr. Roberts bent himself stoutly to the task. Isn't this such 1903 stuff? Instead of being discouraged at the outlook, he immediately commenced to buy more and more land. And this policy has been continued until today. The Highland Farm contains fully, if not more than 200 acres. Now remember, Henry Pike had about 72 acres under cultivation. I believe Henry Pike's taxed for 60 acres on the farm and a woodlot of 23. So all those years of the Norway taxation. 75 acres of this land is covered with pine forest, which is rapidly increasing in growth and value. The remainder is entirely devoted to dairy interests and is the specialty to which he has given his attention until he has become recognized as one of the leading experts in the state. He loved jerseys. Roberts, before the 1860s and 70s, there weren't breed associations for cows. And that starts happening around the 1880s, and John Roberts latches onto the Jersey breed. It's one of the best breeds, the highest butterfat, easy keepers, small, very, very easy. And so he becomes very, very involved in the Jersey Breeding Association. The outlook, this is John, the outlook for Maine, farming in general, and dairying in particular, I consider to be very bright at this time. There is a great future for the orchard industry in the state, and it is one that is not fully appreciated by our people. There is no section of this country where such fine-flavored apples can be raised. And when the industry is fully developed, the markets of the world will be ours. That's great. And he gets very excited about Baldwin's, Green Eggs, and Wealthy apples, but he starts talking more and more about Baldwin's. So I think eventually that's what he really focuses on. And fascinating too that he's using his apple orchard as his poultry yard. He writes about that. Okay, next please. Now he has to get involved with something else. So in 1867, the Maine State College of Agriculture and Mechanical Arts finds its home. It was founded as an idea in 1865 as a land grant college, and I always heard that term land grant colleges, never quite got it. They were a result of the Morrill Act of 1862, quite a cunning thing. The federal government says that any state that stays with the Union will receive 30,000 acres per congressional delegate. So it's based upon a population scheme. But you have to stay in the Union to get this. Did you ever get that? So, and then the states, in the act, the state can do whatever it deems, whatever it wants, is to sell the land. So I think all this land must have been, Utah, Nevada, out west that the federal government is giving away. And it's so that if, New York can sell all of those acres, make money, and then they're supposed to build Cornell, which they do. Well, we do that when we build the University of Maine, but it wasn't called the University of Maine, it was called the Maine State College of Agriculture and Mechanical Arts. And then it gets renamed UMaine in 1897. And it's Joshua Chamberlain who creates the college. So he yet again intersects with John Roberts. And John Roberts, as one would imagine, becomes a trustee of the university. And he's very involved with the agricultural stations. He's right there with all the ag stations. Next, please. So this is one wonderful view from the river. What's the river? Is it Stillwater River? And then here's another campus, very, very early campus.
In what capacity was Joshua Chamberlain when
He was governor, right, at this point? Yeah, he's going to be governor when the college is created.
and he gave Roberts his diploma?
His diploma. Yep. It makes you think that there are only about 10 people in Maine in the world. Because they keep intersecting, keep discovering North Poles and saving the Civil War, and doing all sorts of things. Next, please, Nancy. Thanks. And, I think John Roberts would have been in every dairymen's association that there was. Probably he was involved with every agricultural group that was in the state. I haven't found all of them, but just today, thanks to Google Books has scanned the entirety of the 1908 Maine Dairymen's Association book. Go figure. And there's John Roberts. He was a member of the Dairymen's Association in 1908, excuse me. Isn't that great? There's also a Ben Tucker. Yep, there's Ben Tucker in Norway here, and there is in Dunham. I emailed the connection to David Sanderson. I mean, this is just a part of the list, but there's one of the Dunhams, Melanie Dunham's ancestors, was one of the key butter makers. She received the best butter in the state of Maine. All right, next, please. And this is not John Roberts and Carrie delivering milk. We don't have a photograph of John Roberts and Carrie, but at the time that this couple was delivering milk in 1915 in Yarmouth, John and Carrie, just a little bit before, would have been delivering milk in Norway, Maine. Milk and butter. So the accounts all say that they're doing that by hand. Now I'll read a little bit of this. This is from a 1913 article called Good Schooling in Agriculture. I'm going to read it myself too. Would you do the next one? Let's see if I can a little bit. So I'm going to hold on to that quote. This is their only child. This is Thaddeus Roberts. And that is also, he goes voting, but it was the College of Maine. And he would be sent to Cornell. He doesn't ever, I don't think he ever he didn't matriculate and get a graduate degree there, but he studied poultry management at Cornell. And he's going to come back to Norway, Maine and bring his concepts with him and enlarge the poultry operation on the farm. Next, please. There it is. And some soft roaster is a specialty. So he's working with his dad, and his dad's put on the letterhead. Yeah. Next, please. And just another historic photograph of him. Looks like that the stone walls have been a little more organized. It's a different angle, but. So now John is going to he's going to do some other things. He's going to be appointed to the Maine Board of Agriculture. And then in 1902, Joshua Chamberlain, as governor, is going to create, because there only are 10 people in Maine, the Maine Department of Agriculture. And a few years later, John Roberts will be elected as commissioner of the Department of Agriculture. And I just like that photograph because I like the horses. That was not Norway. That's probably a rooster. Those are potatoes. And you got to use the fertilizer. If you use summer fertilizer, you're going to get potatoes that size. Okay. Next one. So he's now elected Commissioner of Agriculture in 1913. Now here's the man that none of us remembered in Norway, Maine. Known throughout Maine. The Honorable Johnny Roberts of Norway as Commissioner of Agriculture, the first bull moose official elected under the Republican administration. It is believed he will encourage the organization of breeders' associations and encourage community breeding as well as cow test associations.
Who elected him? Was it like,
I think it's the representatives. Who elects our commissioners now? Yes, it must be the representatives. It wouldn't be a, we don't, it would be so messy because we want to do that. Yeah.
what does that mean?
I didn't look that one up. Is anybody good in politics? It's a party. It's a
Yeah.
political party.
Yeah,
Right.
Teddy Roosevelt's break away from
There you go.
Republicans
Yeah.
after they nominated somebody else.
There's something I didn't include in this, and just because I forgot, and I didn't include it in this purposely because it would take too much time, but at some point he was an ardent Republican all of his life, and apparently every election he would stand at the voting spot and write down the Republicans coming through the door. He was just on it, just doing that, and somebody challenged him. And so there's an article about the two of them going to fisticuffs. And Roberts wins. All right, next please. And I just threw some pictures in of some agricultural pictures that are relatively local that I could find on the main memory network for us to look at. And so here's corn husking in Lovell. I was going to read a little bit of this. In 1913, so the Maine Department of Agriculture produced a book every year about the state of agriculture in Maine. And the commissioner wrote the summary for the state and for that year. So I just sort of culled little bits from each of those years. So in 1913, Roberts wrote, and I think this is so, this just rings to what we're going through today. Chambers of commerce and local farm organizations may well combine efforts to increase the product of Maine farms, to put those products into better shape for the consumer, and to develop local markets to hold those markets for Maine products. Isn't that what we're all talking about? The farmers markets, and think local and buy local and eat local. And this was 1913. We still haven't gotten it. But Rocky Crockett is here, so we're going to get it. He's going to help us do this. Now in 1914, again we call attention to the fact that too many of the small fruits and vegetables consumed by our own people are grown out of state. There is good money in raising of these crops if handled understandingly. Taken in connection with a moderate number of hens and a few cows, one can support a family on a few acres of land. It's the same things we hear now. Nancy, next please. There's a canning factory in Hartford. Canning factories were big. This was a very big thing when we could start keeping our both fish and vegetables longer. It's a huge revolution in the fish industry. Next please. And as sad as it is that we haven't found any photographs of the farm with all of its barns and cows, I had these fantasies we'd see photographs of John Roberts Pool in New Jersey. I haven't found it yet. But here's a relatively close farm. So here's a Hebron Dairy Farm, 1909. Beautiful. Next, please. There's our Minnie Liddy, and she's at the Oxford County Fairgrounds taking photographs. I don't think she's Wild Minnie. Can you see on that?
Yeah.
I don't think that's Minnie Liddy. This is just her photograph of the farm. And these agricultural fairs used to really rile John Roberts. I'll just read one short sentence. The fairs. We desire to call attention to the fact that the management of many of these fairs is passing out of the hands of farmers into the hands of village or city men. Farmers should strive to retain control of all agricultural organizations. We wish to condemn severely the admission of cheap, filthy shows upon fairgrounds, as well as the multitude of small games of ill repute, whose managers resort to every dishonorable device to get hold of money of inexperienced and unthinking people. What would he have thought about a T-box? I don't know. He didn't think well of horse racing. He kept on talking about everyone's focusing their attentions upon watching, and everyone's bringing all their horses to the fair. Every horse they have on the farm is brought to the fairs to race, and they're not really paying attention to agriculture. So he was trying to get that switched during his reign.
What is the word news?
I don't know.
Ill repute.
I think that's one of the places of ill repute, isn't it?
The yucca something. Yucca, let me see to the right.
Yucca. favorite piece in this whole thing, I think. In 1915, Roberts wrote, "In the last 10 years, the output of milk decreased 10% in New England, yet the price of milk and butter is the same as during the Civil War." And that's pretty amazing. Probably hasn't changed much still. "The making of butter at the present time is but an incident, and if the price of butter goes above a certain figure, people are urged by the manufacturers to use oleomargarine in its place. The argument is continually put up that this grease is made under the most sanitary conditions and is very nearly the equal of butter. This stuff is shipped into Maine, not only in carloads, but in trainloads, and the people of Maine are gradually becoming, this stuff is shipped into Maine, not only by the carloads, but in trainloads, and the people of Maine are gradually becoming grease eaters instead of butter eaters. And it's entirely involuntary on their part. That is the reason I call attention to it. If nothing but butter was allowed to be used on the tables of restaurants and boarding houses, the price of butter would advance to a figure that would make it profitable to keep cows and thereby increase the number of livestock. This would ultimately tend to lower the price of meat." I love the grease eaters part. And just hold on to that for a few more minutes and you'll get to the joke that Annie found earlier. So when he's doing this work in Augusta, you can't, I mean, today the commute from here to Augusta would be brutal, but you could do it. You really would not have been doing it at that time, so one has to assume they're in Augusta. But I don't have any primary documentation. The census records show them, in 1900 actually, the census records show John, Carrie, and Thaddeus on the farm, and they have 2 farm laborers at that time. By 1910, the farm laborers are no longer there, but they are still on the farm in Norway. By 1920, they are in Augusta. And remember, John takes up this position with the Department of Agriculture in 1913, so you have to sort of assume he's going to move to Augusta in 1913. And the tax records just show them owing and paying the taxes, not who's living here. So it's just a little hole we need to figure out who was here at that time and what were they doing. Now, Thaddeus Roberts by now has graduated for quite a while. He's been out of Bowdoin. And he's now married, Lena, and they're living in Augusta, and it's just via a little bit of a sleuthing and an interesting thing by one of their children that we have a photograph of the house that they were living in Augusta, which is a gorgeous house. It's based on a Wiscasset federal mansion, 3-story mansion. It was on Sewell Street in Augusta. It was where the Maine Historic Preservation Commission had its offices at one point, and the house no longer stands, but it was a boarding house. So we have the census records, and there's lots of boarders living there.
Was Lena from Norway?
Lena Schrink, I think is her last name. Schrenck, I think is her last name. Yep. And haven't done any work on her. We do have a photograph of her. Very nice photograph. And they're going to have 3 kids. They'll have John, and this is unfortunate, they'll have John Alfred Roberts. It's going to be the Roberts John, so it's 2 of them now. And then they'll have Martha and Mary, 2 daughters. Okay, next please. And then he dies. So this is sort of the joke with Andy Burns. Here's this man who's just railed against grease eaters in Maine. And go butter, go butter, go butter. And he's going to die of hardening of the arteries. He dies, Johnny Roberts will die suddenly after a week's illness in February of 1920. And there's all sorts of obituaries. He is eulogized all over the state in many, many journals. Was well known, well respected, and died early. But he was always, we have to remember this part, he was always, not a strong constitution. So it may not have been the butter, it just may have been the way he was. But I love it. It's a very nice obituary. And the loss of such a man may well be called a blow to all the material interests in our state. He really was very well respected. Next, please, music. He is, there's a funeral held at their home, so this is where we find out they lived at 31 Western Avenue. I haven't driven over to Augusta to see what's left of what's there. Maybe a Taco Bell. What's that first strip that's now been replaced by the next sets of strips. So he's given a nice funeral in Augusta, and then his body was put on a train and brought to South Paris, where he was interred in the Pine Grove Cemetery. And sadly, his wife, Carrie, was ill at the time, and Thaddeus stayed in Augusta with Carrie, watching over her. Carrie's going to die in 3 years. I don't know what the illness was, but just terribly sad that she couldn't even come over here to see her. And not Norway.
Well, I can tell you that the Pine Grove Cemetery is usually in Norway. And there was a big legal fight about it at one point, and it's now South Paris, but it was originally Norway.
It is maintained by Norway. It is a Norway cemetery.
So the fairgrounds, which is where the high school was in Norway, or was that when the sort of was involved? Interesting. Good for you.
I don't know where I read that, but there was a trail. Yeah, I've seen it a couple of times.
That's great. Thank you. That's really wonderful. Okay, next, please. And this is a photo of the lake taken from the farm by Johnny Roberts II. And I'll talk a little bit more, but here's just one little quote, and this is again his last words to the State Senate in 1897. He's always saying these very poetic things. Next, please. And I thought that we should know sort of how it gets from John Roberts to sort of to where we are today. So the land is W. Pike, Revolutionary War veteran, one of the founding fathers of Norway. Passes on to Henry Pike, then goes to Carrie Pike, who marries John Roberts, and then it goes to Thaddeus, who marries Lena, and they have 3 kids, John Roberts II and two daughters, and John Roberts II buys his sister's shares from the William Cell. And John Roberts II, I think next, I might have a picture of him. Oh, we'll get to him. There will be a picture. So when Thaddeus has the farm, he does wonderful things. He does the cream in milk bottle, which was patented in 1932. There were only 2 dairies in the state of Maine that had these cop the cream bottles with a police head on them that say cop the cream. And the writing was in red. That's the only thing I found out about Robert's farm that was useful at the Maine Historical Society, was about the milk bottle. And I think wonderfully, poetically, Mary and Bob Van Nest, who are the president and founders of the Land Trust, they've both been presidents at different times, used to have dairy cows at their farm, and they had found one of these bottles or bought one, and that's what they used for their own milk at the farm. And unfortunately, they put the bottle in the dishwasher quite a bit, and it roped off most of the printing, not all. And that's the only bottle that we have as the Land Trust. There are more out there, I'm sure of it, but we haven't found it yet. So, isn't this, as I add, the deep layer of golden cream on our Jersey milk is your visual assurance of a rich, creamy, and delicious flavored product and a guarantee of extra food value.
They have photo in 1906?
No, I don't know when this is in the Bowdoin file, so Thaddeus graduated in 1906. So Bowdoin had that.
No, this print is on.
Is it called? No, it says 3.
Oh, yeah.
That ad may not be from 1906.
Correct.
That ad,
yes.
His graduation.
Yeah, exactly. Thaddeus tried many, many things. He sold electric blankets, and he sold, what do they call it, granite ledge water. So he was bottling water from the spring on site. And ate chickens and dairy products, eventually trees. Eventually he managed the woodlot. But he took out a lot of mortgages. I mean, he's taking over, he eventually will take over the farm in 1929, and Thaddeus will die in 1968. And how rough is that? Take over a farm, main farm, just during the Depression, and then you get the World War, and then it's just the way main farming was collapsing. So he had a rough go of it.
Actually, I think you had a farm at that point, you were in good shape.
Good shape. Nobody else had anything.
You had a
You had a way to feed yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As long as you didn't know where.
Right. Next, please, Nancy. And this is Thaddeus's son, Thaddeus and Lena's son, John A. Roberts II, who we've done very little on, but he has blessed us with some wonderful things. This was his photograph from graduation from Norway High School. And this is a wonderful article. He's 18 years old, so he's just about to graduate. And he's made this contraption. Johnny Roberts, 18, Norway, remained to an old motorcycle engine, parts of an old automobile, and a homemade framework covered with grain sacks from his father's cow barn. Constructed this fine shed. It speeds across Penisawassee at 45 miles per hour. John is shown at the controls. So, and it is, as he's graduating from Norway High School, his thinking is he's going to become a farmer. That's just what's in there. But he was valedictorian of the class. So very smart and very creative. And he actually graduates from, he goes to MIT and Harvard, and I don't know where his degree is from, but I just know he's attended both MIT and Harvard. He ends up where a friend of ours in the audience did. He worked for GE in Lynn, Massachusetts, and you worked for GE in Massachusetts. And John Roberts had, over the course of his career with GE, 32 patents. One of them was very, very important, apparently, and I'm not going to remember it, but it's to detect a certain level of a gas that would have been toxic, and it's some sort of gas that can be emitted in a submarine. So our Navy was able to use that during the Second World War greatly to our benefit. So here's this local boy, crazy machine, who becomes a great inventor. So, no, he died in 2002. So John Roberts II, calls the land trust in 1999 and said, I have this great piece of woodlands on Norway Lake. He was then living in Massachusetts. I have this great piece of woodlands on Norway Lake. What do you all do? And we explained to him about conservation easements and the sorts of things that the land trust does. And then we didn't hear back from him. And in the interim, he sold the land to a buyer who then walked it, and then it was sold to the Growth Council. And then it was sold to the Growth Council. It becomes ours. And he does, and John Roberts does it. This John Roberts.
So
All right, next.
When he died, where was the land? Was it with the Penrys?
Yes. No, it's going to be with the Growth Council. Yep. And let's have it from 2000 to 2001. Growth Council does it in 2002. So one of these odd things is eventually we're able to connect with a descendant of this John Roberts clan. It's the grandson of John Roberts II, who is a web designer in Massachusetts, and that's how I found him. He doesn't seem particularly interested in his family's history, but he did eventually, leading to his mother, who eventually sent us just a packet of photographs, nothing written about him, just here. And their stereopticon views, I don't believe they were taken with a stereopticon photograph, though. They are taken, I think they're just taken with a single photograph, the person going, thump, thump, and then mounting them as stereopticon views. These were done by John Roberts II. And there's some wonderful bits that they fill in. Here is the maple syrup time on the Roberts farm, on his dad's farm. And look what they're tapping into oil cans. So it's a great marketing opportunity for us. We'll be able to market, the 30 weight and the 50 weight maple syrup when we get going on it. But the foundation for this boiling house is still there in the woods, and we always wondered what was going on above. And the cans are still there. There's just a pile of these oil cans, which I thought were for fuel. They weren't. They were catchments. Okay, next, please. Yeah. This is also a stereo view, but this is only one 1939 photo. There's the Roberts Jersey Dairy Farm truck with these huge pine logs on them. And I bet you they'll miss them though. Why 1939 huge pine logs?
Hurricane of 39.
1938 hurricane. 38 hurricane took them down. And it was Ben Conant who figured that out. He had seen photos of this truck from a different angle with these huge logs on them. And so those were blowdowns in the 38. And we don't know where the mill is. No one's been able to figure it out. But it's got to be a mill with a relatively large blade. So it may be South Water. There it is. We've had so many people look at this darn thing. They haven't figured. It's not really important, but.
How did you know it's 1939?
Well, the truck is a 38, 39 truck. She's right. So, but Ben knew it was a 38 hurricane. So he'd seen this, he'd seen it from a different angle. And knew that those trees were from the 38. A good question. So why isn't this a 1953 photo? Yeah. So next, Nancy, I think there's another one. Yeah, so these, and this is the Roberts house. So this is Roberts Road, and there's the house. It's hard to see with all the trees. The truck, it's hard to see there, the headlights on it. The truck is there. I think this was John Roberts II coming home from MIT or Harvard and deciding, I'm going to take things that show my life in Maine. And he put the truck in all of them. They're in all the, there's a few Norway photos, the truck is in them somewhere. He's then dating his to-be wife, who was a waitress at the Whitehall Inn in Camden. He puts the truck in front of the Whitehall Inn. It's in front of a house that probably is Camden, not ours. It's weird. So he's sort of recording, this is where how my life went.
It's a new truck.
That's a good point. Yeah. But this is one of the earlier, no, so we have, for the front facade of the house, and this one's hard because of the trees, we have that range photo, and then we have this. All right, next is Nancy. And then I'll go quickly because we've been here a long time. So these are a series of some aerials just so you can see sort of the evolution of things. This is from Annie Burns' porch. She has the wonderful 1942 aerial of Penisawasi. And this line is the farm lot. Here's Crockett Ridge Road, Causeway. So there's the, in 1942, there's the open portion of the farm. So the farmhouse is in there.
And where's the rest area?
Rest area is probably not built yet. I think it's, the road is still curvy in 1942. Okay, next please. And this is 1968. So, and probably a snow here, you get to see a little bit more. It looks like the rest area is in at that point. But you can see the farmhouse quite significant. On the, oh, could you go back, Nancy? One of the things that you can see in this one, an enormous chicken barn. There's one of those huge, long chicken barns. And that's the foundation's still there. That's very near to the home that Suzanne Best and Don just bought from Anna Kevin. So that's 68. And next one is going to be 1981. Oh, sorry, it's so contrasty. And so it's starting to grow in now. Getting a lot more trees coming in. And the next one's going to be 2001. And there's a lot of trees now. so yeah. So and this was the parcel that, it also has another little piece that goes out to Pikes Hill. But this is the shape of the parcel that we purchased from the Grove Council. This is the farmstead lot where the house is. And then this December we actually bought that as well. All right, next please. And that's it. So as you see, it's very interesting. We just don't have those wonderful sort of fuzzy things that we'd like to find. And we'll keep on looking. There must be some Roberts or maybe even Pike archives somewhere that would have some journals, letters, something. This was a very educated man, committed to education, committed to agriculture, committed to community service. He would have written things. So So we'll keep on finding more things as we go. We'll do another program in 10